Right this very second, there's an invisible, microscopic tightrope walk happening inside your body. It's this continuous, high-stakes balancing act that fundamentally dictates your overall health, how you age, and really, whether your cells survive or not.
You know why an apple turns brown when you slice it, right? Or why metal rusts? Well, a surprisingly similar process of cellular rusting is actually happening inside us. For decades, we've heard free radicals cast as the ultimate villains, like they're the sole reason we age and get sick. But is the story really that simple? Let's dive into this explainer and find out.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll officially meet the free radicals. Then, we'll see what happens when the balance breaks, explore your cellular defense system, look at the link between oxidative stress and disease, and finally, figure out how we can take back control.
All right, part 1. Let's meet the free radicals.
At a purely chemical level, free radicals are highly reactive atoms or molecules that contain one or more unpaired electrons. Now, because electrons absolutely love to be in pairs, these guys essentially act like microscopic thieves. They're constantly roaming around looking for a match, and they'll aggressively steal an electron from a nearby molecule just to stabilize themselves. And in doing so, they kick off a wildly damaging chain reaction right inside the cell.
Let's zoom in on a specific, super important group, reactive oxygen species, or ROS. You've got superoxide, which is actually just naturally produced during mitochondrial respiration. But then you have the hydroxyl radical, and this one is extremely reactive. It'll damage pretty much any biomolecule it touches. We also have hydrogen peroxide, which, isn't technically a free radical itself, but it generates them. And finally, singlet oxygen, which is another highly reactive form.
But here is the massive plot twist. You might be thinking we want absolutely zero ROS in our bodies, right? Actually, no. Small amounts of ROS are a classic double-edged sword. They're completely essential for life. They're involved in crucial stuff like cell signaling, helping our immune system fight off pathogens, regulating cell growth, wound healing, and even signaling apoptosis, programmed cell death. So when they're tightly regulated, these so-called thieves are actually vital cellular messengers.
Which brings us to part 2. What happens when the balance breaks?
So where are all these free radicals coming from? They really come from 2 main places. On the endogenous or internal side, our bodies just naturally generate them. It happens during mitochondrial energy production, inflammation, immune responses, and everyday enzyme reactions. But then we face exogenous, external threats. These are the environmental factors that just flood our system with excess free radicals. We're talking UV radiation from the sun, air pollution, heavy metals, cigarette smoke, certain pesticides, and even some drugs and toxins.
And that flood leads us right to oxidative stress. This is the exact tipping point where the free radical thieves suddenly outnumber the cellular guards. By definition, it's the imbalance between the production of reactive oxygen species and your body's ability to neutralize them. The moment your antioxidant systems get overwhelmed, that is exactly when cellular injury and impaired function kick in.
This cascade of damage unfolds step by step, almost like a biological demolition. First, the excess ROS attack your DNA, causing strand breaks and actual mutations. Second is lipid peroxidation. They go after your cell membranes, reducing cell function and creating a very specific byproduct called malondialdehyde, or MDA. Third, protein oxidation forces proteins to unfold and lose their enzyme activity. And finally, mitochondrial damage. This reduces your cellular energy, your ATP, and ironically triggers even more ROS generation. It is literally a cascade of destruction.
So how do we fight back? Let's move to part 3, your cellular defense system.
Our cells actually protect themselves using 2 main types of antioxidants. First up are the enzymatic antioxidants. Think of these as complex proteins your body custom builds specifically to disarm free radicals. You've got superoxide dismutase, or SOD, which converts superoxide into hydrogen peroxide. Then catalase steps in, breaking that hydrogen peroxide down into completely harmless water and oxygen. And there's glutathione peroxide, which uses glutathione to detoxify lipid peroxides. These are your heavy-duty built-in biological defenders.
Then we have the non-enzymatic antioxidants, and you'll probably recognize a bunch of these from your diet: vitamin C, vitamin E, carotenoids, and flavonoids. Your body also produces uric acid and a powerhouse molecule called glutathione, which is widely considered a major intracellular defender. Basically, these molecules throw themselves on the grenade. They sacrifice themselves to neutralize the ROS before those radicals can damage your healthy cells.
Now let's look at the bigger picture in Part 4, Oxidative Stress and Disease.
When this oxidative stress persists over years or decades, the systemic fallout is genuinely severe. Remember those DNA mutations we just talked about? Well, they can contribute directly to tumor initiation and cancer progression. Up in the brain, oxidative damage is heavily implicated in neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's disease. In the heart, it drives atherosclerosis, hypertension, and heart failure. And with diabetes, high glucose levels actually increase ROS production, which just creates a vicious cycle that worsens insulin resistance and damages kidneys and nerves.
And frankly, this leads us directly to the concept of aging itself. One of the leading theories in biology proposes that this cumulative oxidative damage is a massive, fundamental contributor to age-related decline. Over time, as oxidative stress chips away at your DNA, impairs your mitochondria, and degrades your tissue's ability to repair themselves, you physically age. Now, aging involves a lot of interacting mechanisms, sure, but oxidative stress is undeniably a major piece of the puzzle. Like we said earlier, it really is like rusting from the inside out.
All right, let's wrap up with Part 5, Taking Back Control.
The good news is we can absolutely influence this balance through research-supported strategies. First and foremost, eating a diet rich in fruits and vegetables gives you a steady, natural stream of those non-enzymatic antioxidants. Regular, moderate exercise is also fantastic, mainly because it actually stresses your body just enough to condition your built-in enzymatic defenses to grow stronger. Plus, avoiding smoking, cutting back on excessive alcohol, limiting exposure to pollutants when you can, and managing chronic diseases – all of these actively reduce your exogenous, external load of free radicals.
But there's a massive caveat here, and this is crucial. A lot of people think, hey, I'll just pop a bunch of high-dose antioxidant supplements and be invincible. But the science tells a totally different story. As the research clearly shows, antioxidant supplements have not consistently shown benefits for preventing disease in the general population. In fact, excessive supplementation can actually be harmful. Remember, our bodies need some ROS for immune defense and cellular signaling. Flooding your system with artificial, pill-form antioxidants can completely disrupt those vital physiological roles. It's all about balance, not overload.
Fortunately, in the world of modern biotech, scientists don't have to just guess if oxidative stress is happening. They can measure it with incredible accuracy. They look for specific laboratory biomarkers left behind by the damage. They test for things like MDA, which indicates lipid peroxidation. They look for 8-OHDG, a marker of DNA damage, along with protein carbonyls, and they check the ratio of active to inactive glutathione. This level of precision is an absolute game-changer for both clinical studies and developing new treatments.
And looking ahead, the fight against cellular damage is entering a seriously high-tech era. Researchers are already using AI-assisted discovery to hunt down novel antioxidant therapies. They're developing mitochondria-targeted antioxidants that bypass the rest of the cell and go straight to the energy source. They're even utilizing nanotechnology for ultra-targeted drug delivery. We're talking about precision medicine approaches based entirely on your unique oxidative stress biomarkers. The advancements happening in regenerative medicine right now are just mind-blowing. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We've seen how this intricate, microscopic dance between free radicals and antioxidants dictates our health, and we know that maintaining the balance is the ultimate secret to disease prevention and longevity. But with AI and nanotechnology now firmly on the horizon, you really have to wonder, how soon might we be able to truly pause the biological clock of oxidative stress? It's a fascinating frontier to keep an eye on. Thanks for joining me today. And remember, keep your balance.